Wyong man Justin Millington has been sentenced to 8 years jail over the sexual assault of 2 women he met on a dating app near Newcastle. His trial heard he repeatedly raped one woman in bushland near the Fernley Track in October 2020 and sexually touched another woman against her will at her home in 2021. He had met both women on the dating app Tinder. Millington will be eligible for parole in March 2027.
The Rural Fire Service has confirmed it has not been able to determine the cause of a fire that destroyed an iconic Hunter Valley wedding venue. Crews were called to Tamberlane Organic Wines on March 23 following a blaze at its function centre. 50 firefighters worked for more than 4 hours to extinguish the fire.
A man and woman have been charged after a puppy and guitars were allegedly stolen during a break and enter at Maitland. Police attended a reserve on Semple Street yesterday afternoon, discovering a puppy locked in a tent. A 44-year-old woman and a 46-year-old man were arrested and faced Maitland local court today. The puppy was uninjured and has since returned home.
The NRMA is urging drivers to fill up now, with petrol prices in the Hunter and on the Central Coast set to soar even higher. Tonight, the price of E10 is more than $2.20 a litre across several Newcastle suburbs, but there are pockets of cheaper fuel.
Almost $2.23 a litre, and that's just for E10. Petrol prices have hit a 13-month high in New South Wales, and the Hunter is not yet at the top of the latest cycle.
It's nearly $2.30 per litre. That is crazy. Very expensive at the moment. I think everything's going up and it's starting to hurt.
For the price I think it's ridiculous, eh?
Some today deciding not to fill up.
Yeah, so I'm only putting about $25 in just to get me around for the day.
The NRMA says these prices are way too high. It's partly due to a number of global factors, including Russia's war on Ukraine and a weaker Aussie dollar.
OPEC artificially withholding supply, which is putting upward pressure in prices. Concerned about the Chinese economy, in particular Chinese manufacturing, and the impact that is having on supply globally.
It pays to do some research online and shop around to save at the Bowser. We didn't have to look far to find cheaper alternatives. $1.84.9 for E10 at Merriweather. The average for Newcastle is about $1.92 a litre for unleaded. On the Fuel Check website, E10 was listed at $2.22.9 at dozens of service stations across the Hunter. The highest we found was $2.24.9 at Mayfield and Rutherford. And prices are expected to climb further in coming days.
So now is actually not a bad time to fill up in Newcastle or the Central Coast. There are bargains to be found. There's a pretty significant gap between the cheapest and the most expensive. It's around 20-something cents. So get in now, because it's not going to get better in Newcastle and it's not going to get better on the Central Coast.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
The member for Port Stephens says there'll be no residential development at Tomaree Lodge. The site was included in an audit of all unused government lands across the state to find solutions to the housing crisis. Cape Washington says the site will remain in public hands for community use.
Port Stephens residents will soon have access to cutting-edge MRI scans harnessing the latest artificial intelligence. It's the first time the technology has been rolled out to regional Australia with the aim of slashing costs and wait times for patients.
It's state-of-the-art technology, halving the time patients need to spend in an MRI machine.
We've installed the new G Voyager. It's pretty special. So it's got some new AI tools, both in the reconstruction and in the detectors, which means it cuts down the imaging time.
Only available in Sydney or Brisbane until now, the machine is able to complete scans in 10 minutes instead of the usual 25 without compromising quality. And results are available within 24 hours.
For us, we're getting much better pictures, which means our doctors are more confident on the reports that they give.
Salamander Bay resident Charmaine Bitroff struggles with chronic neck pain. She'll no longer need to travel the hour to Newcastle for regular MRI scans.
If you go to the John Hunter, there's a wait because you're an outpatient. And of course, inpatients are first priority.
And there are benefits beyond slashing wait and travel times.
You would feel claustrophobic in them, whereas this new one, it's actually got a blanket that they just lie over you, and so you don't feel trapped there, and that's the beauty of it. It's bulk build, there's no gap, people don't have to pay for it, so in this economic climate, it helps.
The new technology will be available to patients from Monday. Josephine Shannon, NBN News.
The meticulous restoration of a 125-year-old signal box at Hamilton train station has been celebrated. Decommissioned in 2016, the restored mechanical hardware now directly controls a miniature model of the railway station, allowing for hands-on education and training.
With our mechanical signalling, we can demonstrate to new staff how each bit works, so that when they come and work on a repeat basis, they understand what the system is trying to achieve.
The signal box restoration was unveiled today as part of National Rail Safety Week.
Legendary Hunter broadcaster Craig Hamilton is calling time on his ABC radio career. Hamo started sports commentary in 1995 with the ABC's Rugby League program, covering grand finals and state of origin. He has been presenting Saturday breakfast for more than 20 years and will host his last program next Saturday. A tireless advocate for mental health, he's written books and recently teamed up to create a new film, The Promise. Craig says he will continue to speak publicly about his own experiences in recovery to raise awareness. Right across the region, it was a warm one throughout today and even warmer tomorrow. Members of the New South Wales Nationals Party have put up a fight after the state government paused a $19 million regional program. They're calling for the Stronger Country Communities Fund to be reinstated, but Labor says it's still under review.
A busy skate park and a buzzing cafe, made possible by Stronger Country Communities grants. But that funding program is now on pause, its future being considered following the recent change in government.
We had another $90 million already set aside for round 6. Instead, we've seen another pause and another review. And guess what? Cut is what we're expecting.
The $660 million program has contributed to nearly 2,500 projects since 2017. Tamworth's West Bowling Club, a beneficiary. The local mountain bike track has also been made more accessible to people with disabilities.
And when I speak to people that visit the park, I haven't been here before, and where you're from, the Metropolitan, the first thing they say is, I'm amazed at the recreational and sporting facilities in rural regional cities.
Now funding for a number of regional projects is up in the air.
They will struggle. These organisations don't have the capability to fundraise. They don't have the capability to upgrade their facilities, and ultimately they lose members and close.
In Parliament last week, the Minister for Regional New South Wales, Tara Moriarty, was asked if the fund will be axed.
She regards SCCF, the Stronger Country Communities Fund, as simply a mates deal that the New South Wales Nationals have. I reject that completely.
A spokesperson for the Minister of Regional New South Wales says the state government is currently reviewing funding programs, and decisions on commitments and projects will be announced in September's state budget. Tomorrow, National and Labor MPs will come face to face at the National Bush Summit in Tamworth. Meanwhile, Teachers Federation members will also gather in protest over wage disputes.
To show their disappointment and disgust in the government of the betrayal that they have shown members, because we were promised a better deal, and now the government has walked away from an agreement.
Georgia Vaughan, NBN News.
Tensions are rising between Gunnedah Shire Council and the state government over funding for Gunnedah Hospital. $53 million has been locked in to upgrade the facility, but last month it was revealed the money would only cover a third of the project due to increased construction costs. Mayor Jamie Chaffey is calling for additional funds to be allocated in next month's budget.
It's not a Taj Mahal. It's not, something you'd see in a metropolitan area, and it's fit for purpose for Gunnedah, the one that we were promised, the master plan that was endorsed in November.
Mr Parker's now talking with the Treasurer about the issue, but no funding commitments have been made.
Despite dozens of call-outs this winter, Tamworth firefighters say locals are listening to safety messages. They're urging residents to remain vigilant with drier and warmer than average conditions forecast for the end of the year.
It's been a busy winter for Northwest fireys.
Now, luckily that none of those fires have resulted in any fatalities, and there's only been several of them that have resulted in injuries to the occupants of those homes.
Since the start of May, there's been 32 house fires and 5 unit fires in the New England Northwest patch. But Superintendent Tom Cooper believes locals have been adhering to safety messages.
It's a statistic that we obviously want to try and keep down, but as across the board, the people that live around these areas are pretty good when it comes to fire safety.
Crews have completed almost 400 home safety checks this year, testing smoke alarms and fine-tuning escape plans. But with overnight temperatures still nearing zero, the electric blankets and heaters aren't being packed away just yet.
One thing that we do need to make sure that we impress upon the public is that winter's not over yet.
It's not just the house fires that have kept fireys on their toes. The Tamworth crew has responded to almost 700 calls in the past year, predominantly truck rollovers, car fires and grass fires.
We've been kept pretty busy with grass fires over the last month or so, and a lot of car fires. We had a few in Gunnedah this week, and plenty in Tamworth as well.
And with the region officially in the bushfire danger period, Superintendent Cooper says Fire and Rescue will work with the Rural Fire Service to keep residents updated and alerted.
The message about preparing your home for bushfires sort of tends to cross over with winter fire safety.
Rob Douglas, NBN News.
More than 1,400 Tamworth residents have signed a petition to save $250 regional seniors travel card. Applications for the state government scheme were put on hold in July. The scheme was replaced by a 4 cent per litre reduction in fuel for seniors who fill up at United service stations. But member for Tamworth, Kevin Anderson, says many towns in the region don't have access to that company.
Free and accessible cultural workshops are set to be rolled out across New South Wales over the next 2 school holidays. Young people will have the chance to learn new skills in Indigenous-focused performing arts. The state government-funded program includes a 50,000 First Nations workshop in Tamworth over summer for students of all ages.
It's a growing area, home to nearly 6,000 people, and now Port Stephens Council has unveiled its vision for rural communities west of Raymond Terrace. A draft hinterland place plan covering suburbs such as Hinton and Seaham is up for public comment following a review of planning controls. Among the priorities, diversifying the economy, supporting agri-tourism and preserving the 3 river systems in the area.
The University of Newcastle has launched a new 1-year course aimed at tackling staff shortages in secondary schools. The Australian first graduate diploma in teaching fast-track subjects, usually offered over a 2-year master's program. It means people who already hold a single bachelor's degree can provisionally work in a classroom after completing the new course. And again across the region today, temperatures way above the average and still extremely dry. 23 from Tamworth, 25 at Moree, maxing out at 16 after what was a chilly start right across the entire region, particularly the Tablelands.
A 39-year-old man remains in a critical condition after sustaining burns to 40% of his body when a fuel drum exploded at a property yesterday afternoon on Corriba Lane at Dyer's Crossing, west of Nabiac. Emergency services arrived around 6 p.m. and treated the man for burns to his face, arms and chest. He was airlifted to the Specialist Burns Unit at Royal North Shore Hospital.
It was an unfortunate accident because all the landholder was doing was spraying the containers around the area for weeds and grass. Moved a bit of material which sparked a spark on the container.
It's believed the man was moving wire near a fuel drum when it exploded.
Police are investigating a head-on crash at Mulloway north of Woolgoolga overnight, which left an 84-year-old female with chest and back injuries. Emergency services were called to Solitary Islands Way around 5:30 p.m. Both drivers were taken to Coffs Harbour Hospital and will undergo mandatory testing. Surging demand for rentals and soaring prices are pushing thousands towards the brink of homelessness. New studies reveal land shortages are the core of the housing crisis, and the Coffs Coast is among the 10 least affordable places to rent in the entire country.
Cost of living pressures are mounting. More renters are being pushed onto the street because they can't find a home they can afford. Up to 130 people per day are visiting services like Pete's Place.
Coffs Harbour and the Clarence Valley were in one of the top 5 increases across the state in rough sleepers. But in addition to that, we have many, many more people presenting who are in housing but are having to make the decision between, fuel and food costs or paying rent.
According to home improvement industry experts, Richmond Tweed is the least affordable place to rent, averaging $711 per week. Coffs Harbour and Grafton also rate poorly at $561 per week. The Mid North Coast is the most affordable of the 3 regions, costing on average $508. But it's still a 30% increase since March 2020, significantly above inflation and wages increases.
I think we need to address kind of some of those drivers of homelessness. So more social and affordable housing, obviously. We need more adequate income support payments. We need to have all levels of government working together to really address this problem because it's only increasing every day.
Land shortages are limiting the solutions available. Coffs Harbour's Warina Domestic and Family Violence Service is seeing longer-term stays at its refuge with no alternatives on the horizon.
Our average stay used to be about 6 to 12 weeks, and now we're seeing clients stay for 6 months in our refuge, and we only have 5 bedrooms, so it means that we aren't able to provide more support to more people.
Britt Ramsey, NBN News.
More than 700 concerned residents have turned out at Coffs Harbour's Brailsford Park to make a statement on the logging practices across the Mid-North Coast. They're calling on the state government to get on with the promised Great Koala National Park before it's too late. They say Forestry Corp is ramping up its native forest logging, which has detrimental impacts to the surrounding environment. A forestry spokesperson says it follows strict rules developed by expert scientific panels when it maps koala habitat and harvests in native forests. A vacant lot on Tari's Manning River could soon be developed into a mixed-use waterfront hub. It comes after key infrastructure has been built with a grant from the federal government.
It's a development opportunity that will change the face of Tari's future.
The first time we see high-rise in the Manning in Tari.
Developers plan to build commercial and retail spaces, apartments and even a seniors living facility. The plans also include development of a commercial marina.
Instead of having to, like many people think they have to retire at the beach, well you can, but you can also retire next to a beautiful river.
$8.5 million from the federal government was put towards infrastructure to connect the area, including traffic lights and a new road along Pitt Street in Taree that has a cycleway and footpath extending to the Bicentennial Gardens.
We've now got paths and roads that will service the whole community.
Key infrastructure now complete, developers will move to the next stage, including lodging a $30 million development application to build 2 high-rise towers.
In the line electorate, we have double the number of people over the age of 65. That means we have a lot of retirees.
A company called Bushland Health Group will run the retirement living facility with the aim of providing elderly residents the opportunity to live on the Manning River. The plan includes 64 independent living units from Manning River Bridge to Jumerick Island. In 2020, the project was estimated to cost $500 million, but the owners of the site say it's likely to blow out by millions of dollars.
That'll grow with the CPI plus over the next 20 years. It'll be a game changer. It will deliver, construction employment throughout. That'll mean many more people can come to the valley.
Nikita Jager, NBN News.
Aussie Ark in the Barrington Tops has welcomed 35 Eastern Pole Joeys. Aussie Ark's breeding program has 8 female poles.
Kids to be able to love and want to nurture our environment and our wildlife into the future, they have to be able to connect with it. And getting up close and personal and seeing those beautiful babies born makes them fall in love with this species.
Aussie Ark now boasts the largest insurance population in the world.
The first ever Luck of the Irish race day went ahead today at Tuncurry Foster Racetrack. Hundreds hundreds of punters